Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Hurad Homatava Kunna Vihari Jai Hurad Homatava Kunna Vihari Gopijana Balapa Girivardhagudi Gopijana Balapa Girivardhagudi Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Banachagare Yamuna Tera Panachahudi Jayurad Madhuva Kunyabihakti Jayuradam Madhuva Kunyabihakti Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parikacharya All Stotera Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai For M's sake, O Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Dvaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur, Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopata Sayam Kun Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturidam Ki Jai, Jagadath Sami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda, Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 16th chapter, text 56. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So even though it's Panihati Day, we're going to be talking about Panihati on Sunday, so I thought today we just do the Bhagavatam. Kaliya uvacha vayam kalaha sahotpatya tamasa dirga manyavaha swabhava dushyacho nata lokanham yad asad graha kalya uvacha vayam kala sahotpatya tamasa dirgamanyavaha swabhavo dushyacho nata lokanam yada sadgraha kalya vacha vayam kala sahotpatya tamasa dirgamanyavaha swabhavo dushyacho nata lokanam yada sadgraha kalya vacha vayam kala sahotpatya tamasa dirgamanyavaha swabhavo dushyacho nata lokanam yada satgraha. Okay. Vacha Okay. Kalya vacha, Kalya said, Vayam, we, Kalaha, envious, Saha upatya, by our very birth, Kamasaha, of ignorant nature, Dirgamanyavaha, constantly angry, Svabhavaha, one's material nature, Dushyachaha is very difficult to give up. Nata, O Lord, Lokanam, for ordinary persons, Yat, because of which, Asat, of the unreal and impure, Graha, the acceptance. So translation, the serpent Kaliya said, our very birth as a snake has made us envious, ignorant, and constantly angry. O my Lord, it is so difficult for people to give up their conditioned nature by which they identify with that which is unreal. So, you can repeat, the serpent Kaliya said, our very birth as a snake has made us envious, ignorant and constantly angry. Oh my Lord, it is so difficult for people to give up their conditioned nature, by which they identify with that which is unreal. So, purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sanatana Goswami points out that because of his wretched condition, Kali was unable to compose original prayers to the Lord. And thus he paraphrased some of the prayers offered by his wives. The word asadgraha indicates that a conditioned soul seizes upon impermanent and impure things such as his own body, the bodies of others, and other countless varieties of material sense objects. The ultimate result of such material attachment is frustration, disappointment, and anguish, a fact that has now become crystal clear to the poor serpent, Kaliya. Again, the verse Kaliya vacha vayam kalo sahotpatya tamasa dirgamanyavaha svabhavo dushjajo nata lokanam yad asadgraha. So, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So, I have a problem with what Kali is saying. So, I have several problems. One is, let's start with the beginning problem I have. First problem is that he took his birth as a snake because of the offense he committed in his past life. And I've told that story before. Just very briefly, the story is that he was a sage meditating in his cave, and people generally have this sense of possession. Not just people. I would say all living entities have a sense of possession. And I mentioned before the dogs, they mark their boundaries. Just like yesterday, I was walking in the park chanting my japa, and people had dogs, and one dog, none of the dogs attacked me, but the dogs were attacking each other because they had impinged upon each other's boundaries. So this particular sage, and I forget his name right now, but it's not important, he had his cave. It's my cave. My cave, and my entry to the cave, and my whatever. And another sage said, can I join you? And he said to the sage, no. He made faces. And he said, you are hissing like a snake. Therefore, become a snake. And of course, generally when sages curse, they actually give some sort of benediction connected with the snake, with the curse. Just like Manigriva and Nalakuvara. They were cursed by Narada Muni, and the benediction that they would see Krishna. It's not such a bad benediction. So anyway, so as a result of that, so first of all, what I'm talking about today is responsibility. Taking responsibility for your particular actions. Okay? So first of all, the body was because of his fault. Not because Krishna just somehow or other decided, let me put this poor guy in the body of a snake so he can suffer and become envious. So if you have a body, sorry. That's not an if question. You have a body, and the body is evidence of your previous actions, desires, karma. Face it. Just face it. Don't deny it. And of course, the body is also there for devotees. Krishna puts you in situations where you can, let's say, experience some misery so you become detached from the material world. And that's also there, too, for devotees from one lifetime to another. So this Kaliya was actually a devotee in his last life. So it was Krishna's arrangement. Just like the arrangement of Bharat Maharaj. Okay, that's the first problem I have with Kaliya's excuse here. So in the course I give about empathic communication, there's these 4 Ds of discommunication, and one is denial of responsibility. And usually I give certain examples. I don't usually give examples of past life stuff, but usually I give examples of someone who says, I drink too much because I'm an alcoholic. So people have these excuses like that. Or I'm depressed because I'm depressed, whatever. I mean, obviously, sometimes there's some physiological thing going on, and we're not being hopefully unnecessarily cruel when we're talking about things like this. There are certain deficiencies that one may have. But we find many examples of people, and not just people, but entities that are born in lower species of life or naturally envious species of life that don't succumb to their physical nature. They're more aware of their physical nature. Of course, this is called, in Bhagavad Gita, called Buddhi Yoga. We know that there's eightfold material elements, Vina Prakriti Ashta, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And we know by reading the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which we just finished, and we're on the third chapter in our studies, finally I found out that the body is like a chariot. After all these years in the Hare Krishna movement, I finally understand that analogy. So the body's like a chariot, the horses, the senses, and the mind is the reins, manashiksthani indriyani, and the driver is the intelligence. So when we talk about buddhi, intelligence, and it's interesting, buddhi, Prabhupada sometimes said the intelligence is the form direction of the super soul. So in other words, 15:15 in the Gita, that when you have some desire, matak smritir, jnanam aponam cha, Krishna gives you specific intelligence to direct the senses and to direct the mind. Okay. So Buddhi Yoga basically means that you have to control the mind. I mean, why do we have these verses like, what's Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krota Vegam, Jivo Vegam, Udara Pashta Vegam? The pushing's there. Prabhupada said that even one may become a pure devotee because of the body he has, then he just simply has to tolerate. This word tolerate is there. I think, it appears very cruel when we tell people, you have to tolerate Prabhu. But basically, it's a fact. You have to tolerate the pushing. So, anyway, getting on to some examples to prove my point, because examples are actually important. Let's say, here's Kaliya, snake body. Okay, let's pick some other people with snake bodies. Or people. Let's pick some other entities with snake bodies. I mean, I'm not into this whole idea that many devotees have talked about, that our leaders are snakes and they show pictures, conspiracy. And they show pictures of someone's tongue, the president's tongue coming out and it's forked. So this is crazy. But, all right, entities in snakes' bodies. Of course, Anantashesh. Of course, his body is transcendental. Okay, let's leave that one aside for right now. Vasuki. Vasuki's a good snake. He's born in a snake body, yet he's a good guy. He's not a bad guy. It's not that all the snakes, it's not all the sons of Kadru were just like nasty creeps. That some of them were nice people. Nice snakes. Some were nice snakes. So there's another example of a snake. I'm giving snake examples, then I'll get into other living entities. Narada Muni had a disciple who was a snake, right? And as soon as he took initiation and chanted on his beads, became Krishna conscious. I don't know how he chanted on his beads, but at least he could chant the Gayatri mantra. So as soon as he took initiation, he became peaceful. He controlled his nature. He took responsibility for his nature. Then people started to torture him, harass him. Obviously, if you find a snake around here and he's just like peaceful, can you imagine, walk outside in one of these copperheads. Hare Krishna, Hare. our natural response when we see a snake, isn't it? To take a stick or to, anyway, just want to kill the guy. So he went to his guru, and his guru complained. He complained to his guru. And he said, Narada Muni, these people are harassing me. I can't do my bhajan properly. And Narada Muni said, just raise your hood and go, hiss. And people get scared. And it's scary. I mean, I've seen cobras, and they raise their hoods sometimes. I go, Hare Krishna, I better worship Govardhan more so I don't get harassed by the snakes. So it is kind of scary. So anyway, so there's another example of a snake. Okay, let's change the subject matter and go to other living entities now. Okay, so here is another example. Bharat Maharaj took the body of a deer. Deer are usually not self-controlled, as far as I've experienced in this world. And so what happened is that Bharat Maharaj didn't hang out with the other deer. Was he a male deer or a female deer? I don't know. Doesn't say. I just assume he's probably a female deer. Anyway. Who knows? I mean, we're just speculating. Okay, so he took him. So, no, he could have taken a birth as a female deer. So anyway, deer, doe, deer. Anyway, so he took birth as a deer. And naturally, the body would have some inclinations. The deer body. And this is not a Walt Disney film. You know, where the deer talk and everything. And so what he did is he hung around with the sages. He didn't get into deer nonsense. Or actually, for deer, it's not nonsense. It's their natural proclivities. So there's another example. Controlling by intelligence. Intelligence is not based on the body. At least that type of intelligence, you know, the spiritual intelligence. There is a type of intelligence in mind that's based on the body, but the spiritual intelligence. Another example, let's go on to, let's see, we got more. Human beings. Oh, actually, forget about human beings right now. Don't forget about them. But we have in the Ramayana, we have these bears and monkeys. Some of them succumb to their nature, and some of them didn't. Like Hanuman's a Kim Purusha. I mean, it's almost a human being, or is it a human being? So you have Hanuman and Sugriva, right? Basically the same species. Because Sugriva was the son of the sun god. Bali, of course, was the son of Indra. And so you have Hanuman, who perfectly controls his senses. He's going through the women's ashram looking for Sita Devi. He's flying. And that women's ashram, of course, is the ashram of Ravana's wives that he had kidnapped, all these beautiful girls. And he's thinking, this is described in the Valmiki Ramayana, he's thinking, sorry about the French, what the heck am I doing here? I'm a brahmachari, and I'm flying through the women's ashram, and all these women are like half-dressed, or even, you know, God knows how they were dressed, and all drunk, and lying there completely disheveled, looking to Sita Devi. And then he remembered, this is Ram's service. So he didn't succumb to that natural nature. And then you have Sugriva, who, when he finally got back his kingdom, after Ram had killed his half-brother Bali, that he really succumbed to his monkey nature. I mean, he was hanging around even with his brother's wife, what to speak of his own wife, and getting completely intoxicated. So you see, you know, they're actually basically the same type of body, because, you know, from the demigods, like that. So it's a question of controlling your higher self with your lower self. Controlling your lower self with your higher self. And that's what Buddha Yoga is. So, and even you have the example of Lord Chaitanya somehow giving his mercy to Shivananda Sen's dog. And, human beings again, or Rakshasas. You have Vibhishan, who was born in a Rakshasa family. And Vibhishan became a good guy. He had the same mother, same father. Kekashi was his mother, and it says that the sons take after the mother, and the daughter generally takes after the father. So his mother was a Rakshasa, demon. His father was a nice guy, actually. And then he controlled his lower nature, even though he was a Rakshasa. And his associates, he had described he had 4 associates who joined Ram. And these associates also controlled their lower nature with the higher nature, with their intelligence. That's why it's very important for us to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. To discriminate. Prabhupada said discrimination is the better part of valor. And so, therefore, in ourselves, let's apply this, because according to the laws of the learning, I'm supposed to talk about applying application. Thank you, my dear teacher. So, let's apply this to ourselves. And let's apply this to the word can't do or impossible. And Prabhupada, famous quote from Prabhupada where Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So many times we think we can't do something. Let me give an example, before I go on to ourselves, another example, of one person who I knew here in Hillsborough many, many years ago. And he was basically a quadriplegic. That means didn't really have use of his arms and not really use of his legs. And he opened up a store. It was at that time, I guess it was a UPS drop-off store and a whatever. They sold all sorts of stationery there. And I went in there, and he was operating a computer. In those days, computers were actually a little more primitive than they are nowadays. And he was operating a computer and running his business. He put a pen or a pencil or something like that, some sort of marker, in his mouth. And he was going like that and typing. And he was typing quite nicely on the computer. And he was disabled, perfectly able. Nobody would have argued for him to get SSI from the government. Nobody would have argued with him. Obviously, you'd take one look at him. But he didn't accept that particular situation. He wanted to do something. And then the devotee example is when the devotee said to Srila Prabhupada that it is impossible to produce 17 books in 2 months. And I was there for the whole thing. I witnessed it personally with these very eyes. It's not just the Prabhupada said story or in the tape or the recording. That Prabhupada basically told them impossible is a word. Even though devotees wanted to reduce Prabhupada's request to like 2 books or 4 books in 2 months or over 6 months producing the books, Prabhupada just said, it's all useless. And it was a very heavy statement. He said all these machines, because I was in the BBT building, and it was actually a new building we had just acquired for the ISKCON Press, or BBT. I was there, and I had helped show Prabhupada some of the machines, and I was proud of it. You know how I am about technology with all this doodads and everything like that. So I wanted to show off in front of Prabhupada, and the rest of us did too. So there was this, typesetter with punch tape in it and like that, the old style computer, and there was a telex machine where the devotees could say all glories to Srila Prabhupada from New York. I remember that. It was quite interesting. What? This was in L.A.? There's in L.A., yeah. Yeah, I used to live in L.A. Oh, yeah, it was on Watsika. It was actually on Venice. The building was on Venice Boulevard, not on Watsika Avenue. The new building we got. Yeah, they don't. I think they rented it or whatever. They don't have that building anymore. So anyway, Prabhupada said, "All this is useless." And I was thinking, "Oh my God, all this wonderful gadgets, computers, not like I have now." Now Prabhupada would really lay into me. But anyway, he said, all this is useless unless you could produce 17 books in 2 months. Well, he said, useless. And that also meant, we took implicitly, that means you're useless too. So, okay, yes, sir. No more mental platform. 17 books in 2 months. Ekeha Kuranandana Bahushatasrantascha. Let's go for it. And so it happened. I've told the story many times. And then also in Prabhupada's own life, where his spiritual master said, preach in the West and preach in English. And people thought, some of his godbrothers and some of the other people thought, this is impossible, the whole world taking up Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada did not accept that. Prabhupada did not accept that. Prabhupada accepted the word of his spiritual master, and then all the incarnations of the Lord were rowing the boat, taking him over to, God bless America, taking him over to America and assisting Prabhupada. And the success potency is built into the words of the spiritual master. So in our own personal lives, we are making so many excuses why we can't do something. I mean, it's a fact. And Prabhupada said, basically, you're Americans, you should do something, basically, I'm paraphrasing, do something miraculous or miracle, whatever it is. You should do something. And Prabhupada expected each and every one of us to be qualified in Krishna consciousness. And then we're making excuses. I have this. There's certain physical disabilities we may have that we can't do certain physical things we used to do. That's a fact. That's a fact. But as far as preaching Krishna consciousness, as far as the present situation where we find ourselves locked up and perhaps getting cabin fever. For those of you who don't know what cabin fever means, it means during the winter sometimes people feel very locked up and they don't do anything. But there's opportunities. A devotee doesn't see, someone who's determined, doesn't see problems, he sees opportunities and challenges. And we take, I don't want to use that expression about the bull by the horns. That's a horrible example. We take life by the horns. Yeah, when he wanted to kill them. He didn't kill him. Well, I think Arista Shura. No, for Sacha. Okay. Sacha. Yeah, that's right. He took those bulls and he tied them all up. Okay, I can use that expression. So we have to take life and just go for it and accomplish something for Krishna and not be in this denial of responsibility like Kali is doing here. Really take responsibility. I made a mistake. Please forgive me. It's not the fault of my body. It's not the fault of my mind. It's that I chose to do something or not do something. And that's the first point, is taking responsibility for your actions. Once you've taken responsibility for your actions, you can transcend your bodily nature. You serve Krishna according to the Varna. I understand that. We're not asking you to transcend your Varna. But we're asking you to do something that transcends your Maya, your lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy. By tolerating it. That's the point. It may be there, yes. Kaliya has this body, and even after he became Krishna conscious, he still had the snake body. So even we join the movement, and we may have a body that's with a crazy brain, sorry. We may have a body that's lusty, more lusty than other people. We may have, I'm talking about things we can control, okay? Not to criticize people for, if you have knees that don't work and you can't stand. That's not my point. But we have certain things that we can overcome by the strength of intelligence, by the strength of our philosophy. But it's very important to learn the philosophy. Otherwise, everything's just so damn sentimental. And last night in class we were reading that famous quote that Prabhupada said, religion without philosophy is what? Sentimental. Sentimental. That's what Prabhupada said in the quote we read yesterday. And philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So you need the philosophy. And of course I was using the example last night of why we need the philosophy, to ascertain what is bona fide spirituality or a bona fide guru. Like Prabhupada gave the example of gold. Sometimes there's this thing called pyrite, which is fool's gold. And if you don't know what real gold is, we still got a few minutes. If you don't know what real gold is, you're going to be fooled. And someone's going to sell you a piece of land. At least, of course, that was in the Old West, where they were opening up California, and they said, oh, there's all this beautiful gold on the property. We'll sell it to you for 10 rupees. Not rupees. We'll sell it to you for $10. And it was all pyrite. It was all just useless because the person didn't know what gold is. So unless you understand the philosophy, you won't be able to discriminate. And unless you apply the philosophy, then what's the use anyway? You can understand philosophy. You're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the senses. And then when it comes to it, someone brings you a big plate of whatever. It's going to hurt your health or whatever it is. Or some pretty girl comes, hi, sweetie. So then you don't understand the philosophy. The philosophy is meant to be applied. You tolerate. Yes, I have the desire to eat that whole thing. I remember one time I was in Mayapur, and I was with a devotee who paid for the whole Maha plate, and he said, Maharaj, it's all for you. At that time, I wasn't an austere, dedicated rascal. So, so I said, wow, it's for me. But anyway, so we may have decided, I wanted to consume the whole thing. And certainly with my eyes, I was capable of doing it. So philosophy, okay, Vacho Vega Manasa, you remember it. That's why we have to hear the basic philosophy over and over again. And we think we're transcendental. I'm a gopi, I'm a manjari. Yes, next life I'll be a young girl. But not a manjari. Because of all the torture I've given to the poor girls here, But anyway, so we think all these things about our spiritual body, but we have to get back to the point of control. And that's why Prabhupada, and I've been commenting on that in my recitation of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Why does Prabhupada keep repeating? Why does Krishna keep repeating himself over and over again? You're not the body. You can't die. Can't be burned by fire, withered by the winds. All right already, because we haven't applied it yet. So you really have to keep reminding yourself about these things. So anyway, just to end the class, we are responsible. We should use buddhi, intelligence, in applying Krishna consciousness. And, okay, there was another thing I wanted to add. This is actually, and be careful about contemplating sense objects. Because we understand thinking, feeling, willing. And now we're just not just talking about subtle sense, gross sense objects. We're talking about subtle sense objects. Conceptions about ourselves that we may have imbibed by reading our horoscope, or conceptions about ourselves that have been taught to us by our parents, or conceptions about ourselves that have been taught to us by society. So these are subtle things we concentrate. I am this type of person. And we're not talking about Varnashrama. We're talking about upadhis, designations that have been implanted on our consciousness and subconsciousness. If we contemplate them more, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. That's a contemplation of a subtle sense object. You become attached to it. You become, lusty in the sense that you won't give it up. And then you would get angry if someone challenges your conception of yourself. So, anyway, sorry about this. So, we have about 20 seconds anyway. Yeah.
How does the mode of goodness have doing with being able to become introspective to where we can use intelligence and then
Yeah.
strive for well-realizing?
Yeah, so we cultivate the mode of goodness, obviously. Even though our body may be inclined towards certain activities, they're in different modes of nature. We can cultivate the mode of goodness with transcendental knowledge, with right association, and especially by chanting the holy name, and seeing the deities, which we will see in a second. Okay, thank you very much. Hope I didn't offend too many people. Jai Guru. 7, 4, 6. Radha Golokananda ki jai. Radha Golokananda ki jai. Radha Golokananda ki jai.